And when it came our time to serve, we knew better dead than red. But when we got to the draft board, buddy, this is what we said. Well, I'm only 18, I got a rough shit spleen, and I always carry a purse. Got eyes like a bat, and my feet are flat, and my asthma's getting worse. Oh, and I think of my...
That's Tom and Dick Smothers with George Siegel on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour back in the late 1960s. During its time, the show consistently dealt with censorship from CBS. A playful song about dodging the draft seems innocuous now, but at the time it was anything but, and comedy has certainly changed, but we're still seeing comedians facing backlash for jokes. What would the Smothers Brothers say about the current times? Well, why don't we ask? Joining us for more is the legendary comedian, musician, and actor Dick Smothers. It is an honor to have you here.
Well, it's an honor to have anybody want me to say anything about anything.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, I've been fascinated because we see you in the building all the time because you're frequently on The View, and I watch Bill Maher, and I watch these late night comedians, and you know, you got into a lot of trouble for that little clip that we showed there, and it seems, again, so innocuous compared to what we've seen just this week.
Well, that's just that's the way things are. The first people that do things, they're all alone. Their professional compadres would say, don't do it, it's not safe. Lenny Bruce started the modern comic by he was profane, he was intelligent, he was stating hypocrisies, racial injustice. In the 50s, he was banned from other countries. He was handcuffed. He had to make public apologies for things that young comedians do over and over again.
But, you know, you and
it's a growth, that's what I'm saying.
You and Tommy did not start that show on CBS with the intention of taking on political issues.
No, it was the growth of the 60s, a great civil unrest and change. The Vietnam War was happening. By the way, we took the show we replaced Gary Moore in '67, and the Vietnam War was building up, civil rights was building up. We came as short hairs. We were safe bets to replace the last place show on television on Sunday night. They said, put the Smothers Brothers in. They're real popular, and if they'll fail probably, and we'll replace them with something worthy. Well, the Times brought us, it politicized the Smothers Brothers. We were never really political. People thought we had a lot to say because we were a continuing, honest, genuine conversation between two brothers who were very different. Tommy was the dyslexic, and he believed this and that, and I was correcting him. But he was very sensitive to the situation.
I was watching one clip today, a skit that you had with the CBS censors, like throwing out pages and pages of what you intended to say. Compare that to, let's say, what happened with Stephen Colbert a couple weeks ago when he said a lot about President Trump, but something that many people thought was across the line, and he apologized for.
I know, because he's a network show, isn't he?
Yes.
There's different standards. We're discussing that. There's stricter standards, all the way down to no standards to the public media and Facebook and all those things. He had to apologize. But what you're seeing in the liberal comedians up there is the anger. And that's what comedians do politically. It's the pent-up anger, and people get to laugh at very sad things. It's just why the Republicans are in office. There was so much anger that the other side we didn't know about, and they let it out by electing someone who is absolutely crazy.
And I'll point out, we're talking about the same television network, CBS, which I actually worked for CBS for 5 years, and my dad worked there for 25 years. But you know, the rules at the broadcast networks are a little bit different than what you see on the cable networks. But do you say to yourself, geez, after looking at the Colbert stuff, we got into trouble for that?
Yeah. Comedians are born to overstep. Comedians are born, I think it was mentioned in the little clips, they never are comfortable being told what they can't do. That's just, you don't ever do that to a comedian. He will do it, even if it hangs him. And they overstepped with the head thing. Metaphorically, maybe she meant even without a head, he's no dumber.
Right.
But it was tasteless.
All right. Yeah. We are just getting started. We'll have more with Dick Smothers coming up right after we check on the weather.
Maybe we should love each other rather than kill each other.
Is he saying what I think he's saying?
Yep, that's what I want for my birthday. I want love.
Hey, hold it, kid.
I got a hold of it.
You can't do that in front of millions of people.
Boy, if I was a man, I'd...
You're a smart-alecky kid. You can't do that on television, make love. That's disgusting.
Yeah, but you were gonna kill me.
Hey, that's all right. That's acceptable.
That's a clip from the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. Back in the 1960s, the Smothers Brothers were known not just for pushing the envelope about what you could do and say on TV. They also poked fun at the censors. Times have changed, but there's still pushback against comedians for certain jokes, and that's our focus tonight. And joining us for more is legendary comic, musician, and actor Dick Smothers.
By the way, we shot my brother dead. We hit him so many times it looked like a shooting of today. Because you can't make love on television, because that's...
but the underlying theme there was about the times you lived in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And you did evoke some wrath from the president at the time, LBJ, who, and this might sound familiar for people out there, LBJ called the president of CBS, William Paley, in the middle of the night to complain about your show.
Yeah, they used to watch this, evidently they at least once watched it together. And he said that Lucy Bird really loved the show, and his children. We made fun of the birds, which we didn't like the writers to do. And he said, I'm trying to manage a war, and can you get them to back off? It's very similar to what's happening with Trump and James Comey. And he said he'll do what he could. So here's what happened. This is real important. He came to Tom and said, you know, you got to back off a little bit. And you don't tell a comedian not to do that. We weren't doing anything wrong. He said, I'll tell you what, you had Pete Seeger on the show.
Right.
And we cut Big Muddy. It's an anti-war song. I'll give you Big Muddy if you back off. It was like horse trading. So Tommy did this and Pete Seeger got to sing the song about following a leader into a river and drowning. That's what Vietnam was. And we didn't back off.
But comment on this. Compare the reaction of LBJ and the reaction of President Trump to, let's say, Saturday Night Live and Alec Baldwin. You know, Alec Baldwin was on a number of times this past season with his brilliant, portrayal of President Trump. And then the next morning, President Trump will go on a Twitter rant. The LBJ wrote you a note as your show was about to going off the air, and I'll read part of it. It is part of the price of leadership of this great and free nation to be the target of clever satirists. You have given the gift of laughter to our people. May we never grow so somber or so self-important that we fail to appreciate the humor in our lives. I don't know if that is 140 characters that would fit in the tweet today.
No, it wouldn't, but it wouldn't be in the mind of the present president. And Lyndon Johnson was a gentleman that way. He did a lot of good things, and he took over at a difficult time, and he had to manage a war. We were in there, and I think you could, on the outside, it's so easy to say, get out of it. We backed a thing called Another Mothers for Peace, a little thing on the station breaks between the hour, and they took that off, saying it could be communist, you know, trying to undermine us and this and that. But the point was, LBJ understood that. And you know, the Jane Fonda sitting on tanks in Cambodia, the doves and the hawks were the words. The boomers out there know what I'm talking about. They lived it too.
Did you get the same kind of reaction that today's comedians got? I mean, we see it on our Facebook comments all the time, but did you get the same kind of angry letters about what you would say about the president and the impact it would have on our
But they weren't
veterans?
Twittered. They weren't. There was no social media, so they were letters. You know, a couple hundred letters drove the network crazy. What we did get was a lot of negative response from our fellow people in the business saying, "Hey, you're stupid. Don't do that. You're going to lose your show." They were negative. You say, "You're foolish to do that." And because nobody did it and got away with it.
So where do you think the line should be now? I mean, in the last week, you saw what happened with Kathy Griffin and showing a severed head of the president, which disgusted a lot of people. And there are two thoughts. I mean, people were very angry, and it's cost her gig at CNN. And on the other hand, they say, you know what? She has a First Amendment right to do whatever she wants, like it or not.
I believe in the First Amendment, and that was a metaphor, I'm pretty sure. Chris Rock, I believe, a number of years ago said, if there's ever a first black vice president, I'm going to make sure, you know, he goes out as president. In essence, I've paraphrased that. You're not inciting someone to kill the president. But with the huge amount of violence that's going around the world, which supposedly is less violence than there used to be, but it's it's there. It's in front of us now with the media. The First Amendment rights should not be ever smothered, because you can't stop it. It just escalates and escalates in how much you do take off the air.
But even
turn the dial. We have 300 channels, my gosh.
Is there a responsibility of comedians to say, I am not going to go there, given the tumultuous environment that we live in this day in this country?
I don't think that, I think that the comedians going too far that way is not even close to the inflammatory people like Rush Limbaugh and people that say we're being held hostage and inciting people in a simplistic manner to say our country's in hostage and we got to take it away by violence. People think they're asking you. They're pretending to be news. We're posing to pretend to be funny. You know, if you're funny's number one. You got to be. I think the comics that just put in filth in their show and they're not funny, they're still not funny. And the people that God, there's one of them that turned. He was a liberal guy. He had his own show. Now he's really a right-wing guy for Fox, and he's a comedian.
Dennis Miller.
Dennis Miller. He's not funny. He's not. Chris Black. Was it Black? What's the guy now?
Well, let me ask you this. Well, what's your take on, we talked about what happened on Bill Maher, his using the N-word last week. Al Franken, who is one of the funniest people out there from Saturday Night Live, now a U.S. Senator, he backed out of being on the show tomorrow night.
Because of that?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was ill-advised, but you see, when a comic comes out with a ad-lib remark like that, he's not thinking. And being a comic, I would think he thought of the movie that, the black person who's inside and the black person who's outside. In the days of slavery, they were different, and they figured they were more superior than the ones outside. They had a better job, and all that. And that's what he came from. But in the way the world is now, I don't know how to live with the political incorrectness versus being afraid to and self-censoring yourself. I think that was ill-advised. I hope he doesn't lose his show over it. I don't know what to say about that. I'm afraid that I might misspeak anywhere, anytime.
Well, we have a delay on this show, so that's okay.
Oh, no, but it's, actually I'm a straight man, and if Tommy and I were here today, I think the guys are too quick. They're too, they're writers. Tommy and I were improv. In improv, you can't create that much of sharp material. Samantha Bee, I think, is fabulous. John Oliver, he is last week, this week. Gosh, he's so he's screaming all these things, and they're outrageously funny and rude. But they're coming from their belief. They are based on what's going on today. And if we shut that door, turn it down, we're going to lose way more.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from Dick Smothers, plus what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, a housing-first approach to homelessness. Welcome back. Things have certainly changed since the 60s and the days of the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. Comedians have more freedom about what they can say on the air, but that doesn't mean they still are not held accountable. So where should we draw the line? Should there even be a line? Dick Smothers joins us now for final thoughts, and we were talking about that. And you brought up the fact that, look, it doesn't seem like Rush Limbaugh has any line, or some of those other folks on the other side.
That's really fake news. Rush Limbaugh and those things.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you concerned in this tumultuous environment that it's getting so heated out there, and there are so many people who are worried about really, how polarized this country has become? What we fail to remember is in the 1960s, when you and Tommy were doing this, we were pretty polarized then.
Yeah, we were. Because it was the unfairness of the draft. I was for people registering at the post office, but if they didn't want to go, they shouldn't have to go. Today, the question of where is the line? Remember the Supreme Court? I don't know. I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it. That was a Supreme Court judge or something that said that. I don't know, is there such a thing as a line? That line is movable. What is a lie? A lie is intent. When is creative storytelling or a lie? To me, a lie is to get your way, to omit the truth and have someone bend someone's mind or make up their mind based on false evidence appearing real. And that, I think, is hard to tell today. because things are like the bloggers or the Russian interference or Bulgarian interference, whatever. It all looks right. What am I to believe? So all it does is they point that to people they want to get to make a decision. I'm worried about, can we make valid decisions to run our country the way it was conceived to be chosen? The facts, campaign, vote without that outside influence. I don't know how we know that's true, but all I know is no matter what happens with Trump, early on he said, if I shot someone in Times Square, my people would still. That's paraphrasing what he said. So once your mind's made up, almost all of this stuff doesn't matter. His base is not deserting him.
And we'll have to leave it there. It's been an honor to have you here tonight.
It's an honor to be in this country. And boy, what exciting times.
You could say that.
Hi.
Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, Housing First. After years of debate on how to tackle the issue of homelessness, Sarasota City and county governments are now collaborating on a Housing First approach. The idea is to treat housing as a right and not a reward by putting a roof over a person's head and then follow up with services. Here is what some of you are saying. Marjorie Sykes writes, finally, this is a good step. Patrick McCarthy writes, they are for the most part vagrants. They have taken over our parks. They roam our streets at night. They commit crimes, and yes, most of them are druggies. Sarasota has buried its head in the sand for so long the situation is out of control. And Shannon Broadnax writes, sickening to see the word they used with such a derogatory tone. Hot topic here, lots of gut reaction, not much thought on the humanitarian side of this topic. Who are we to assume why someone is in the street? What do you think about censorship and backlash to comedians? Where do you draw the line? Join the conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past Roundtable discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to our guests for being here tonight. Dick Smothers is a legendary comedian and musician and actor. If you have never seen the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour before, do yourself a favor and check it out.